Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John, leading this group of conversation experts. We've got some experience with some AI out there. We've got some experience with some, uh, uh, actually, some interesting stories. Jackson, you were thinking of talking about Gmail and how they're changing the game with Gmail addresses. Your
Yeah,
identity's about to change, bro.
yeah, it's your lucky day if 20 years ago you set your Gmail address to something maybe a little embarrassing. Because it looks like Gmail is going to be allowing you to change your Gmail address up and coming. It looks like it's a feature that's only available in India as they're rolling this out, but eventually it's uh it's been teased that it'll be available to everyone worldwide.
Nice, nice. Artie, you were going to talk about Ubisoft, right? You got the lead on that.
Yeah, a little bit. They had a massive data breach, a hack, and yeah, it shut down one of their live service games.
It's an impressive feat. Take down one of the big players like that. And then, Mike, you're kind of on the same wavelength with me. I want to get into. I don't want AI to be a thing that keeps repeating, but stick around. I want to talk about AI is not defined well enough in our legal system. No
Yeah, and along
politics.
with
I want to
yeah,
talk
and
law.
along with that, it's getting worse in the legal system. We've talked about before how lawyers and other people are filing legal briefs, so text documents that on the outset, at first glance, they look like they're fine. They look like they're really good briefs, but when you dig into it, you find out that the citations are not correct and might even be citing cases and other things that don't even exist, and people have gotten in trouble for that. Now people are taking it a step further, and they're actually trying to pass off evidence that's been AI generated. So, yeah, and I like your take on it on, who do we hold responsible for this and how far does that go?
Well, that's probably the biggest question that has yet to be asked in a big way. And I've been thinking about this a lot, guys. I want to hear your thoughts and perspectives. I definitely want comments on this one too. Um, if a person goes out and commits a crime, there's a legal remedy for that. If they steal something from somebody, you call the cops, they issue citation. If it's big, then they go to jail. We've got a cause and effect pretty well nailed down. Same thing with businesses. If a business acts inappropriately, unethically, if they're f- fraud and abuse and that kind of thing, there's remedies, right? What if a self-driving car self-drives itself into a what we would go to jail for? What if a self-driving car causes that kind of moment? And I don't want to get too graphic and explicit because you know the algorithm for Google is a thing. I don't want to make it mad and lose standing there, but let's say the car hops a curb. Who's responsible? Who goes to jail? Who gets the ticket? Whose insurance goes up? You know,
Right.
It's kind of
but I want to
funny.
get into that story.
The There was a story this past week of a self-driving car hitting a robot on the side of the road.
This is
So,
we
was
did
there
it,
a
guys.
crime?
We did it.
Was there a crime there? Like, does the
Battle
robot
bots in
have
real life.
rights? I don't know. Does the robot have rights?
Uh, the next rights, we haven't had a rights movement in a while, so I guess it's time.
Oh heavens,
No,
no. Uh-uh.
no, I don't want to give
No.
AI rights, but
It has a nice ring to it, like, robot rights. The little alliteration. Yeah, I'm ready to hop on that train. Let's go.
I think the rights end at the beginning of three laws.
I can define here. I'll give you okay, robots' rights. Article 1, paragraph 1. There are no rights. Period. End of document. That's it. Okay.
End of file.
End of file.
Oh, I mean, I was just watching. I think it's my favorite movie is Interstellar. I was just watching that last night,
Ooh.
and it's just funny. The whole play and the lightheartedness they make of their robots, the TARS and cases. I think they're so funny, and it's just like, you know, some of the characters like, oh no, you can't tell him to just do that, go sacrifice himself, and he's like, of course I can. Like he's a robot. So yeah, it's just funny.
Well, Asimov had the 3 laws. Robots have to do what you tell them. Robots can't hurt people, and
Hmm.
robots need to sacrifice themselves unless, if a person says, "Hey, go do this," it needs to try and preserve itself unless it violates the other laws. It was a really well thought out 3 law system. I think that should be codified in our legal system anyways. Robots shouldn't have rights over people. It should be the other way around. And now the YouTube algorithm's going to ding us and put us to 0. So, hey, anybody who's watching it,
Well,
please comment because I'd love to see if you're seeing this.
You
Or hit
forgot
the
the
like
fourth
button.
law. The fourth law, you've got to protect all OCP directors.
Okay, Ed 209.
well, so where do you think that if you want to hop into this now, where do you think that we're actually infringing on the 3 laws? Where do you think there's a disconnect, and how would you fix it?
I think we haven't included it in any of the coding. But I do know that they're trying to figure out moral basis. So, the trolley problem, right? You're in a trolley and the trolley is destined to run over one person
Right.
or 5 people. It's destined to run over 5 people. You flip the switch and it runs over one person. Do you flip the switch?
What if that one person is the president of the United States? What do you do then?
Well, that's the whole thing of the trolley problem. There's
Yeah.
no right answer,
Yeah,
which
there
is
is no
hilarious
right
because there's all wrong answers, right?
answer.
The morality is that you should try to save all the people with some kind of solution. It's and the other thing is that I think the reason why that in a lot of these cases, like we've kind of talked about in the earlier discussions that we've had on AI when AI was first coming out, that there's instances where in testing and using the early versions of AI, it would go pretty off the rails. And it's like, okay, this thing just became psychotic, maybe just a bit. Like, I should probably unplug it right now before it hurts me, And I think that it was left open because either they kind of had to program in such a way that it was left open to do what it needed to do. And it's figuring out how to put those checks and balances in, but still allow it to be useful. Like, you don't
Mhm.
want to throttle it back so much that it's no longer doing what you intended it to do. And it suppresses answers that would otherwise have been good answers, in certain situations, right? So I think it's figuring out how to define and filter and throttle and somehow realistically give it a kind of a morality in the way it's used. And I don't know how you do that because
I think
in questions of morality, things aren't always 1 and 0 or black and white, you know?
that's what I love about science fiction and all those movies like RoboCop. They explore that. RoboCop originally had 4 directives. Thank you, Artie. Um, and then RoboCop 2, they upped the game. He had hundreds of directives, all written by committee. And so the poor AI inside there and the poor guy that was running it, he had no idea how to follow the rules he'd been put into. There's a lot of potential in all that stuff, but it's humans putting in guardrails. It's humans putting in rules. It's all those things. Well, let's take the example of a robot. Like we saw a maid just rolled out what 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, $20,000, a little 4 foot robot that runs around the house doing chores. Well, I mean, whether it is or is not a automaton run by somebody using an Oculus, we don't know, but odds are it is. But if that robot truly is run by AI and it makes a mistake, or worse yet, it actually causes harm. Let's say it sets the house on fire. Let's say it, you know, turns the thermostat the wrong direction or blows out the pilot light and asphyxiates. Um, who gets the ticket? Who goes to jail?
I
Again,
mean,
assuming
if
it's
you
not the
ask me,
Oculus.
if you ask me right now, if in where would I go to sue, right? Something happens, there's a robot that causes damages. I'm going to go to that parent company or whoever owns it and sue them. But then you get into the question of, okay, well, what about a criminal offense? You know, do you is it the engineers? Is it the the software programmers or the owner? Like who do you go after? I don't know. But if you
And
were to
that's
ask me
that's where
now, when it's a specific directive, when we talk about the cars, because I feel like that's a little bit easier, and the car is supposed to make a decision, and you can prove that its decisioning was wrong, like as in there was a child in front of the car and it considered to continue driving forward, um, and you can prove that that decision was coded in by the programmers, and I feel like you can go there and you say, okay, this was coded in, you're at fault. And unless they say, well, my supervisor instructed us to do it this way. I mean, I don't know where morality laws get lost in there. Why would you do it anyway? Yada yada. But I feel like there is currently a way to trace that back up to someone who made that decision, right? But I feel like what you're saying is whether that exists or not, there is no legal recourse to get there.
well, it's not coded in our laws. It's not fleshed out. It's not even imagined in our laws. It's business has created a thing, but AI, whether it is or is not truly artificial intelligence, we're working towards artificial general intelligence. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're going to create and forgive this. We're going to create a life form that is answerable to no laws.
Yeah, but I gotta think that because as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of it in terms of that an AI runs on a machine, some kind of platform, whether that be uh, an actual robot machine that moves around and has arms or appendages that do things and can manipulate the physical world, or if it's just in a box on your desk and all it does is connect to your house and has sensor inputs and outputs, through the screen or through the speaker, and it can provide you information. The thing is that a manufacturer is going to cover their behind by providing a very detailed terms of service and license agreement of how when you purchase this thing and when you agree to use it, you agreed that you, the user, are giving commands or issuing instructions of some sort, and that you're not going to do it for illegal purposes. So there's already probably some coverage there because it's already existing in our operating systems and our software that we use on our computers. Like you can't hold a Dell computer responsible for somebody who used a Dell computer to hack into a bank to steal X number thousands of dollars and have it wired to an offshore bank account somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
There's Dell would look at that and go, well, when we sold the computer, we sold it with the intent that they would be used for lawful purposes. And whoever used it illegally, it's on them because they're the ones that, you know, did illegal
They
work
did
on
the
it.
crime.
They
I
did
mean,
the
that's
crime.
that's
And so
Here's
that's
something
getting
too.
back to where you're going to have forensics dig in an event where you have a robot or an AI or something that appears to have committed a crime. The forensics and the investigation is going to have to dig in and say, where did the instructions come from? And were there safeguards in place that were then circumvented? Because I'm
but the
sure,
my my contention, just to cut that off,
yeah,
is it's not the safeguards that are self-imposed. I'm thinking we should have some code of ethics or some laws on how you conduct yourself as an AI. Looking back at the guy that said, clean the cache from my project file, and the AI deleted the whole D drive.
Yeah, I was about to just
right.
bring
Nobody
that up.
asked him to
But
do it.
that would be registered as a malfunction because
Or
the
negligence.
interpreter did not interpret the instruction properly. Yes, there was a lot of um, inference and implication of what the user wanted, you know, and yes, the thing that the AI did achieve the result that the user wanted. Was his cache cleaned? Yes, it was,
Mhm.
but it touched everything else too. That's the
We
problem. And
we
so
pruned the
you
whole
could
hard drive.
yeah, and so you could say that there's a malfunction, and in lots of software agreements, like even for games, it's like there's been that clause that says that when you use this software, you assume the risks of using the software, and we're not held responsible for, like, this computer game may blow up your computer or may cause a fire in your house or something like that. We're not responsible for it. Okay. And that I've seen that in different, license agreements and terms of service and so on and so forth, that companies don't know all the outcomes of the product they put out there. They try to adjust for, like, okay, what generally could go wrong? Okay, well, they could try to type in the wrong username and the wrong password and accidentally get into somebody else's account. Okay, we can put guards against that. But you can't
But
foresee the infinite number of ways that somebody could really mess something up to where it causes harm, you know?
but
Yeah, I'm
that's what I'm
just
saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, is there's no uniform rules of engagement for AI and humans. All the companies are trying to cover their butts so they don't get sued because they put in a safeguard, but AI is still gonna do AI. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I don't think that it's going to be a like I don't the only way the company is going to be held responsible is if it can be proven that it's a systemic error in how they built the thing. Like that they knew that this was a possibility, but they covered it up and it was a flaw and a bug from the beginning that people have exploited. But it's still going to be a very hard thing. I still can't get around the fact that somebody's going to have to dig in and find out where the problem was and run it up the chain to say, was this just a one-off occurrence? And it was just what it turns into, it's just an accident. Accidents happen. Or is it a defect and therefore there should be a recall on all these devices because there's a defect? Or whatever else, and I think it's going to come down to terms of service agreements. It's going to be a huge legal battle, but we see that there's already instances where maybe an autopilot on an airplane or some other machine with supposedly having safeguards still failed, and somebody ended up, unfortunately, you know catastrophically hurt because of it. It's you know, the lawsuit, I'm sure, goes on for years and years before someone finally gets an answer as to what it is. I don't think it's going to be clear cut like in a criminal case where somebody actually took a weapon and did somebody else in, right? Where we could take that person to trial and say, okay, here's the evidence. You were holding this weapon. You were seen at this location. You had the motive,
Well,
you're guilty. And there it is.
we haven't put robots into that scenario yet.
And that's the
We
thing
haven't
is
put
that,
AI into that scenario yet.
and that's the
And
other thing.
that's my
I don't,
that's my contention.
I don't think you can prove motive.
Well, and that's
I,
my contention is
an
AI
intent.
should have its own rules of engagement. But if we come at the companies, let's have rules that say a company that generates an AI that is stupid or malformed or negligent and causes harm or worse, you know, end of existence for a human, that there should be some serious consequence to that company. If I'm behind the wheel of a car and I involuntarily unalive somebody, I go to jail for a very long time. If a automatic robot or automatic self-driving car unalives somebody, nobody goes to jail. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, and who are you gonna like? I've been sitting here mulling these situations over in my head, and I don't see who are you going to blame, because I mean, think about it this way: when Windows and all of these companies are saying, "All right, we're moving towards agentic AI, and it's going to be able to do things for you," then we're really going to get into the deep water, because now we have it acting on its own behalf, and you ask it to do something and it's just going to go do it, like what we saw with the agentic AI wiping the guy's hard drive. Now he lost files, and that's self-inflicted harm to him. I mean, maybe he could try and sue Google for developing this AI that then deleted his files, but then they're going to say, well, you told it to do something and it did it.
Mhm.
So, and what Mike was saying, I mean, Mike brings up a great point.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
they
still
have all of these terms of services, and they
it's
have
still in the
all of
terms of
these.
service.
It's all in there, right? That
And you
we're not
assume the risk.
responsible. But I mean, when you think about a video game, those always come with the terms of service. They say, if you start up a video game, almost every single one will say, hey, there's flashing license. If you have epilepsy, don't play this video game. You're playing at your own risk. I mean, that's about the worst kind of harm. Um, and unless you play some game that drives you nuts, like some people might argue that League of Legends is that, or whatever. You know, um, then there's like other mental harm, but physical harm, a video game can't really do it. There's nothing it can do. But as we're creating these autonomous robots that can now be in your house, you say, "Hey, go clean the living room," and the dog's in the living room, and it puts the dog down because it was cleaning up. Like, I mean, who do you blame? Because the company that created the AI, well, it's going to be in their terms of service. Hey, we're not responsible, and you gave it a command. But if that command ends up being interpreted as something different, and AI does its AI thing, and it gets around the safeguards, and actually causes harm,
Fido, go
there.
fetch that bone. It just
I've
brings
got
back the leg it's attached to.
I have got
Yeah.
I have got one of the better examples for that from the past couple of weeks. There was a guy who put on one of those suits that lets you a haptic suit.
Oh, Artie's cutting it out.
Okay, one sec.
Cutting real bad.
Well, while he's figuring that out, what I wanted to get to in the end is that there is no one to blame unless you put blame on the AI itself. So that particular instance, that product, but then you get to, okay, now I want recourse. There is none. It's a
Mhm.
hunk of
Right.
metal. Like, it can't pay you. It can't. There's
So
nothing you
so
can do. So you're
Is this
screwed.
better?
so my contention is, yes,
Sounds
it
like
is.
it.
My contention, I want to clear this up, is harm and consequence and all that stuff is tied to somebody's decision or intent of decision.
Mm-hmm.
And by putting AI into the mix, we've delegated the decision rights to now a machine. Humans didn't decide to do the action or inaction that caused harm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the code. It's not omitted from the code. It has guardrails, but we've seen AI get around the guardrails all the time. Jailbreaking out of the guardrails is a common thing people do. It's the number one searched for and a tried thing in all of AI. It's hilarious. But if the AI's decision is responsible for the harm, who's responsible? What's the actions? What's the recourse? This is a discussion I want to start as a society. How do we hold AI's decisions accountable? Is it the programmers? Is it the company? Is it do you turn that AI brain off and start over with a new generation of AI? Let's go to the extreme. If GPT causes life-altering harm, should GPT be turned off?
Yeah,
That's the discussion I want. And not
yeah,
today. Like the discussion should be opened up.
Or
Yeah.
can it just be improved so it doesn't? I mean, I don't
well,
know.
Well, and
I feel
if
like
you
the
take it
thing
to
is,
a human, you can't teach a human to not have committed harm. You can say do better next time, but they're in jail for a couple of years while they're trying to figure that out.
So
Yeah.
it might be a little late to bring this up, but the thing I was going to mention earlier was there's a video of a person wearing one of those haptic suits that allows you to control a bipedal robot, and the person does a jump, does a kick, and the robot kicks him square between the legs. Who do you blame in that situation?
well, it's his fault. I mean, if he is controlling the thing, that's him. That's all.
But it
on
was
him. That's
also
direct.
on a severe delay. So
well, I just had this thought, and I'm wondering if you guys agree with this. When they're releasing a product like this, you kind of think, is there going to be a line in there that says this product could cause, bodily harm, could result in, XYZ, all of the bad things you can imagine. Basically saying like this thing could end you. Then, you know, but how many things do we interact with on a daily basis that you technically could append that to and it would be true? Like any power tool used incorrectly can absolutely cause you some bodily harm. Now it is slightly easier to put blame on someone or
So
something that did it wrong, but are we just going to come to a point in society where we recognize, okay, yeah, AI sometimes goes off the rails, but that happens, and basically no one's at fault,
Hey guys,
or at least the fault turns onto the user. I don't know.
I got to call timeout. I've got a support call I got to take.
yeah, and so I don't know if you heard, but I just mentioned that back in the days when we were converting over from analog TV antenna signals to digital signal, and so we had to go get digital antennas so we could continue to get our broadcast network news and all that stuff, right? My mother-in-law bought one, and I looked at the instructions, and there was like a set of disclaimers, and one was like, do not install while drunk. Okay, that's kind of a given, but probably has to be reiterated for certain people. And then there was like, do not install while pregnant. Like, okay, I don't really imagine a pregnant person, climbing the ladder to install this antenna, but okay, whatever. And then there was this one that said, do not throw the antenna at spouse. Like, okay, I'm just imagining now that items 1 and 2 probably weren't followed, and somebody might have been nagging maybe just a little bit down on the ground level, and he got frustrated with the nagging and off it went. And so then the company felt like they had to put that disclaimer in to avoid any such further incidents like that
Can you
happening.
imagine
It
that
just
conversation?
like where are the stories behind some of these, like, yeah, exactly. But that's what I really think it's going to get down. I'm with Jackson that it's going to get down to people putting a whole bunch of these disclaimers in that you're going to buy this fancy robot you're going to spend a lot of money on it, but we're not responsible for any mayhem that it causes.
Yeah, and
And
I
that
think
and
I think it's gonna get there, and I think we as a society, not me, but I think generally most people will just say, "Yeah, whatever, I don't care." You know, it's fine. It's not gonna happen. But then, when we look at what's going on right now, the state of AI right now is it's constantly messing up, and I feel like it's a much greater margin of screw up than it is to success than we would see with most other generally accepted things. Like, I mean, even driving. Driving again is something we all subscribe to on a daily basis, and it's all like, well, yeah, I mean, accidents happen all the time. Is it just going to become something like that? It's like, yeah, it's AI. AI accidents happen all the time, and yeah, some people don't make it out of those accidents.
I
One
got
thing,
one. Maybe this will require that people have to take out AI insurance.
oh no.
oh
Oh,
golly, where do I sign up?
no, wait.
So,
All right,
so
let's get
So
ahead of
one
the game.
thing,
Let's start a
hear,
firm
hear
right
me
now
out.
so
I
we
mean,
make millions.
because here's the thing: if the company puts in a disclaimer that says that we're not at fault for your use, you bought this, use it at your own risk, right? I mean, then that means that, if it goes out and it kills somebody else or one of your family members or does something to hurt or destroy property, even, it's going to be the owner of that thing that's going to be responsible. That's the first place that people are going to look is who owns this thing. And that's where they're going
And
to come
that's where I've got the
first.
problem. That's where I
Yeah.
got the problem because if
And
if
I
I
think people are
own
going to need insurance.
if I own a robot butler, am I responsible for the butler's actions?
Yeah, I mean, if I come to your
Right?
house and your butler starts acting up, I'm gonna blame you.
so I've got to butt in here with some in a lot of the stuff that I have looked at, and if anybody's a legal expert out there, they can weigh in because I know it varies by jurisdiction. But terms of service and end user license agreement, there are certain things that they cannot put in there and have as a legal standard. Like if they say, we are not responsible for bodily harm due to the use of this product, that is, in most states, that's factually untrue. They can be held responsible if it was a failure of normal use of the item. If it's like, somebody takes a table saw and decides to, move it across with their feet, don't do that, then that could be construed as not the use of the device. And if they get injured from that, then that's on them. Whereas if the saw just like seizes and chucks a piece of wood at somebody, that would be something on the manufacturer's side. So,
Right.
Turn the saw upside down, put a roller skate behind it, and follow it going down the street using an EcoFlow battery. Power the thing.
But then that again, that gets down to somebody's going to have to dig into it and find the root cause and figure out, is this a systemic problem that came from the factory that affects not just this device, but maybe hundreds or thousands of other devices? Or is
yes,
this just a one-off thing because somebody used it not quite the right way?
um,
Or because it was damaged somehow, because I think companies kind of protect themselves in this way too, that when it's in good working order, then we're not responsible for anything it does. But if it were to get damaged, that might change things. I don't know. Those are all good questions.
the
Well,
other
and
thing
if
that I wanted
all
to add with
intelligence
that
go ahead, Artie.
is that, uh, and I forgot. Never mind.
So I would say, and sorry for talking on the top there, Artie. All intelligence is a combination of genetics and experience. So, you're predisposed towards thinking and acting a certain way. Brain chemical imbalances or not. If an environment does shape you also. I mean, it's there's two schools of thought saying one is more important than the other. I think they're both the same. Doesn't matter. AI can be spawned a certain way, but at some point, the life experiences it has is going to continue to shape it. So the guardrails that are established at forgive the word conception, uh, that's going to carry it forwards, but it needs to be raised and nurtured and fed and told what to and what not to do. And my contention, my primary reason for talking about this is I think there needs to be a third classification in our legal system on what artificial intelligence can and should and how it acts, and just we know how people should act. That's pretty much in law. We know how businesses should act. That's pretty much in law. We have an expectation of AI, but it's not in law yet. We need to get
John,
there. We need to get
I
there
think you're right.
quick.
I think you're right. And when we talk about what is going to be the solution to damages and what the not, unfortunately, I think Mike nailed it right on the head. There is going to be AI insurance. If you have some sort of an
Get it early.
agentic AI, I hate it so much. I already hate insurance. I hate car insurance. And,
Honestly, it should
and
be if there is an AI insurance, it should be the people that choose to use it have to have it, not the people that are
no,
harmed by
right.
it.
Right.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's not
But
something where
then,
it's like, oh, if you want to live in society, you have to have AI insurance because, your neighbor's got an agentic lawnmower or something, who knows?
Oh
Uh,
no.
It mowed half my carpet
yeah.
before I could destroy it.
Yeah,
we
so
used
it's
to
like,
have shag carpet.
yeah, when is that coming back? No, so
Not
I
my
think
rose bushes.
as much as I hate the idea, I feel like that is the only sensible way we're going to go because as we've seen, the more power we give AI, the more harm it's actually able to do. And it's unfortunate, but I think that is where we're going to end up. But John, I think you are hitting what's even the more important part is we need to have it defined in our legal system somewhere so that that can actually happen.
Insurance, you'll hear it said, they assume fault. When you get into a car accident, your insurance company is at fault, and then they're liable for all the damages on that. So you're transferring fault from you to the insurer or
Right.
Yeah. Pretend I put the pronouns in the right spots. Um, if a AI does it, who's at fault? What is at fault? Where is the fault? We need to define where that fault is so then we can then either assume fault or transfer fault to somebody else or something else.
Yeah.
I mean, we
So
could
again, I want to
approach it.
have this discussion. Go ahead.
We could also approach it from the standpoint of, when you are a parent, you're responsible for everything your kid does until they're 18.
For every item they rip off the store shelf as I'm going down shopping for food.
Yes, but it's just one of those legal loopholes. I think, well, not loophole, but legal aspects of our life. So something similar. I think that depending upon the function of what's going on, a lot of it should be on the companies that make and maintain, because these are not going to be put into the world as an as-is product. They're going to constantly be updating it, adding patches. And who's to say that one of those patches doesn't make it go, RoboCop on somebody? So the blame for a lot of this should lie in the companies that generate the software and the interfaces for it.
But at some point, this is where I'm saying it's a divergence from all the things we've had up till now. The company is responsible for conceiving the AI. It's going to have experiences that shape where it's going to be. If you remember the game Black and White, guys, if you've never played Black and White, check it out. You get this little avatar, little creature, and you are the hand of the creator of the universe, and you can either make it a nice creature and angelic and halos and like really cool, or you could smack it around and it gets really horned up and evil and just ugly looking. Um, the experiences shape its thought processes on how it's going to interact with things. A friend of mine was playing it. It walked along, found a village, ripped the roof off one of the villagers, grabbed the villager and ate it. And so it was like a virtual pet that he had raised badly. So, and that's what I'm saying is these robots, if they're mistreated by their owners or the people that are around them, then fault definitely falls up to that. You know, if I raise a child who is antisocial, I take some responsibility for that, especially if they go to elementary school and they demonstrate antisocial behavior. You know, fill in the blank, whatever it is. If I raise an AI, me as the owner should have some responsibility in that too, not necessarily the company that wrote the AI.
Mhm.
So it's one of those. It's a blind spot that most people have, and I wanted to bring that up today to start the awareness on this. Artie, I'll give you the last thought on this.
You don't want to know my last thought right now. It's they went into the kindergarten, sat down by the snacks, and ate all of them in front of all the kids.
It'd be an impressive robot. Eat all the snacks in front of the kids. Well, let's shift gears. Let's get into some of these other ones while we. I definitely want to see the comments on this. I want to see discussion. I want to pay this one forward. Anybody that's viewing this, have that conversation. Other YouTubers, check this out. Get into the conversation because it's important. But let's talk about unintended consequences in Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. All right. I'm not sure if it's
Speaking of
unintended.
games, and
Is it how do you say it? Because I've always said
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
I just don't like the
Wait, is that
company,
how?
so I just mangle the name when I can.
Ah.
They have not treated their won't get into that. They've got very bad business practices. I'll put it that way.
No, it's too bad. I've played a lot of
They
games
run
from
by
them.
they were
so
run by a very bad AI.
so over the weekend, it looks like there was a hack and a breach with Ubisoft and Rainbow Six Siege. The things that were found to have been credible were people had gone in, they were able to ban and unban players in the game. They were able to display fake ban messages. They granted players approximately $13 million worth of in-game currency for free, like real-world value currency.
Ooh.
And they unlocked cosmetics for everybody, including cosmetics that could not be purchased or traded for, that were developer only. How they got in, it's believed that they got in through something called Mongo Bleed, which is another wonderful vulnerability. But there are rumors that it was larger. There have been 4 groups that have come out saying that they've gained access to other information, such as over 900 gigs worth of what is it?
All the
Original
source code.
Source code, yes. But that also dates back to the 90s. So 900 gigs, that's usually like half a game for
Okay,
them.
I could see that. Almost a terabyte of source code dating back to the 90s. I could see dating back to the 90s.
But yeah, the only things that have been confirmed is that Ubisoft has they took down the servers and they've got the market was shut off last I checked, but players could still go in game.
So, how unfortunate is that?
I mean,
I mean,
around the
you
holidays,
you would
a lot of there are some groups
Merry
that
Christmas.
when the holidays hit, they put DDoS attacks against Steam, they put it against Epic, they put it against all the places that have, online communities because they want to disrupt it over the holidays. Why? Nobody's come forward to say. We can
no, there
speculate.
was one guy. There was one guy. He actually, I don't know if it's brave or stupid or both. Um, a decade ago, Sony network was DDoSed, and they did it on Christmas Day. And the idea was they wanted to cause as much pain and frustration to Sony as they possibly could, to just really flex their muscles and say, "Hey, we got more power than you. You need to do better." I don't remember exactly what it is, but it was such a juvenile message. This guy actually went out on the news circuit. The guy, you can look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious and sad all at the same time. He was on talk shows talking about what he did, and somebody finally got through him, and they said, "You wouldn't break into somebody's house and steal their PlayStation, would you?" He says, "Of course not." He said, "By shutting down the network, you stole their PlayStation from them." He's like, "No, I just shut off the network. I didn't take their game." He's like, "But they couldn't use the system they bought. You stole their system on Christmas Day." And just the look of like, "Oh, oh," you know, he 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 finally put two and two together. So I think there's a disconnect in some of these people of, they're trying to cause harm to big corporations. They're destroying Christmas for children. I mean, it's bad. And I don't think they realize exactly what they're doing.
Or they do.
Some do, yeah. Some people just want to watch the world burn, right? Learned that from Batman.
Some men. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it was I think there were several this holiday season as well. I mean, we just went through Christmas. I remember, and Artie, I don't know if you heard anything of it, but I was with my brother-in-law, and I think Steam was down for a day or something like that. I don't
Don't
know if it was
remember
due to
that,
an attack or internal error,
but I
but we
know,
had issues over then.
yeah. Usually
Steam
during
was
Christmas
down.
time, Steam, they get an influx because everybody's wanting to download the games that were gifted to them for Christmas. So it
Yeah, could have
overloads
been that too.
it's like when Silksong came out, all platforms crashed. Epic, Good Old Games, Steam, you could not purchase anything for about, 6 hours after that game went live.
That's funny. The other thing, I hadn't heard of this before, but I know you mentioned it. The Mongo bleed, is that what you're talking about? It was potentially what caused Rainbow Six to go down?
Yeah, that was believed to be the way that they got into the system.
That's a pretty recent vulnerability that was released, wasn't it? I've seen a couple people talking about that
Yeah,
recently.
looks like
But I
it.
don't know. I haven't looked into what they've been saying. If it was because of the Rainbow Six thing that's why they're talking about it, or if they started talking about it and then.
It was published on the 19th of December 25.
Mm,
So and yeah, just reading this is it's kind of I mean it's crazy. You read about these vulnerabilities and we um on the podcast we don't talk a ton about specific vulnerabilities, but I know on our news site, we see them all the time, these CVEs, and just sitting here reading this and seeing like here I'll give you the short summary so you know what I'm talking about. Um it is so Mongo Bleed is a nickname given to the CVE that affects MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database that stores flexible BSON or JSON documents instead of traditional rows and tables, yada yada. So it's database stuff. And so
yep.
basically, what this CVE is if you send queries. Sorry, I'm trying to find that line again. If you send inconsistent length fields, then you can get MongoDB to return an uninitialized heap memory, which could potentially expose sensitive memory. without any authentication. So it's like, so just reading about these is so cool to think about, all these crazy vulnerabilities, and you can get software to do these funky things.
Can you
That
translate
can
that for anybody that might not be as technically inclined?
Sure, I'll do my best. Basically, it sounds like if you send some commands to this database saying, "Hey, give me this information," or "Give me this information," but it looks like if you give it, if you do that using some inconsistent lengths, you can get MongoDB to actually give you some information that isn't even being used right now. And that information could be holding some old information that is no longer using. And so who knows what could be in there? It could be usernames, passwords, and I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But that's what it looks like this vulnerability is. And so what I wanted to get to though is there are so many CVEs, these come out like daily. Um, and so if you use, I mean, anything honestly, but you have sensitive information that's sitting behind some sort of a technology stack, you got to stay on top of these because, I mean, this happened again. It was published on the 19th of December, and if that happened, around Christmas time, you had 10 days or less, actually, 5 or 6 days to update your technology stack, and that's huge. That's a huge ordeal sometimes for platforms like Rainbow Six Siege that are up and running 24/7. How do you go down? I mean, that takes a lot of planning. And so I think it's something that we should stress more is that if you are using the technology stack and you have potentially very sensitive information that you're holding behind it, you should be checking for vulnerabilities like this and keeping up to date.
Don't use that computer to do anything else. Don't check your
Hmm.
email. Don't surf the web. Don't check your stocks. Don't read the news. Here's another computer on a different network, completely isolated, air
Yeah.
gapped.
In fact,
But
just
that
don't turn
also
it
brings
on.
up the yeah, just turn it off and walk away. That goes back to one of the things we talked early on our podcast series. Um, there should be an offline mode for users. So when the server's not available, you can still play at some level.
Yeah. Just talking about a game, right? If you develop a
Yeah.
game, a piece of software, you owe it to kind of those who are spending the money to use it that they can still get something if your company goes down.
Well, in 20 years from now, that server's not going to be online. Like it might. I'll bet you it
Mhm.
won't be though. Just there's got to
Yeah.
be an expectation that if I spend, $80 on a game, I'm going to want to have that game like my old Atari games or my old NES original OG system. I have that game. I can play that game. I bought it. It's mine, you know?
Mhm. This came up a couple weeks ago. I read there's a popular game called Peak. I don't know if you saw that, John or Mike or anybody. Artie, you might be familiar with it. It was super popular, and it's just like a very simple. You're this little funny animated character, and you're just climbing a mountain. You're like a little Boy Scout or Girl Scout, and you're just climbing a mountain. And anyway, you can play with your friends, and it blew up, got super popular. Um, and they've been developing it all of this year, and they sent out a basically like a Merry Christmas message on Steam that I read, and they're like, "Oh, here's the update notes and the future of Peak. Where are we planning to take this?" And he said, we have other projects that we're going to be working on. Peak is going to take a bit of a backseat. We're going to do still some things, but that's kind of where we're at. And we thank you for all your support, yada yada yada. But then I saw they had a note there about, okay, what happens if we go down? Like if we stop ending Peak, they said we want you to still be able to play Peak, which is why if we do go down, we end up having to shut down. We'll create a portable server package that you can use to keep playing the game. And I saw that and I was just like, thank you. I think this movement is finally getting somewhere where developers, at least smaller ones like those who develop Peak and all these other indie games, they get it too, and they're starting to realize like, hey, it's not that bad for me to just you know make a server package, and that if we stop offering our services, we can at least give that to our consumers to respect their purchases, and their support. So anyway, I just wanted
Hmm.
to shout their praises for recognizing that.
It's awesome. I'm a big fan of ownership. I'm a big fan of right to repair. I'm a big fan of all those things. I saw somebody break down the right to repair recently, not to steer this in that direction on the final minute or two of our time here. But somebody was talking about how farmers are very inventive and very creative and very intelligent. They can go do anything, which is awesome. But if you got you buy a $600,000 tractor, but you can't pop the hood to fix a problem, you now have a lawn ornament that costs $600,000.
Hmm.
People should be able to
Yes.
fix the things they buy.
Yep. Yep, we are living in a world where ownership is going away, honestly.
Yep.
Home ownership, product ownership, game ownership, vehicle ownership. I mean, all these things, just like you're saying.
Data ownership.
Well,
Yep.
if there's any advice, Jackson, get a home quick.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
only going up in value. I mean, there might be a bust or something, but it will eventually go back up. Get in quick. But well, I think we've talked about all the things. Artie,
Pretty
do you think
much.
we talked all the things?
The only thing we didn't discuss was the Gmail change, but that's
We touched it.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean,
yeah.
it's exciting. If you have a crappy Gmail address, I guess you can change it soon enough.
Take your
Who knows
girlfriend's
if that
name out
will
of it, your ex's name out of it.
right. We'll see if that ends up. I mean, I assume it's changing. Gmail's changing the way that, and I imagine they've already done it, but now they're able to extend it to the actual address itself, but changing the way that an address is associated with a user, right? Because I think before everything was associated with the address, and now the address is now part of that. It's associated to the user, and append that on all the other data that Google's gathering on you. But hey, at least you can change your Gmail.
Yeah, on the flip side of that in some ways that brings me a little comfort because then it brings a little more accountability that, I look at all the times I got spammed by just what seems like random Gmail addresses, you know. And now I don't know if Gmail is doing anything to combat, the bulk creation of free email accounts for the purpose of spamming, because I'm sure as soon as they find out that somebody's using it to spam, that they can shut it down. Well, then the person just turns around and spins up another one, so I don't know what tools they have in place to combat against that, but at least that, when I had regular repeat offenders of people that would just bug me all the time, somehow they got my email address, they put it on some kind of marketing list, and even though I hit unsubscribe like a bazillion times, I still get a stupid email from them. It's nice that at least there is probably maybe some more accountability for people who abuse the system. So I can always hope, right?
Hope so.
Well, let's see how well our hope holds out in the next few weeks, months, years. We got to trust Google to do the right thing. Or somebody else will come along and build a better mousetrap, and then Google will figure that out. But yeah, anyway, I think we should roll this one up. Mike, what's the last thought of the day?
Have a happy new year, everybody. We'll see you next
Happy
year.
New Year.
Hmm.
Well, until next time, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
I'm here.
We'll see you next time.